I did my project on the history of capacitors, or how they were basically invented. So some background information on why I wanted to do this was that physics is in our everyday life. If you really, really think about it, like everything that you do, there's physics. And I just think that when we were learning about capacitors, like they've definitely changed so much throughout time that I wanted to look up some of the inventions that were made to get this whole electricity thing going. So capacitors are basically just devices that temporarily store electric charge. They hold capacitance, which is measured in farads, which we will actually get to what he does. And it started in the 6th century with amber and animal fur. So the timeline was it started in the 6th century with Thales of Miletus, where he rubbed amber with animal fur and it acquired the ability to pick up small bits of material. And then in 1745, Ewald Kleist built the first practical capacitor. And then in 46, Muschenbrock built the Leyden jar, which was basically the first capacitor, and everything beyond that kind of went off of the Leyden jar. So in 46 and 45, there was Watson, who discharged the Leyden jar through a circuit and comprehended electric current. And then there was also Daniel Gralath, who combined several jars in parallel to form a battery. And then, of course, there was Benjamin Franklin. He explained the Leyden jar and actually used it in his kite experiment. And then there's also Michael Faraday, who invented the world's first electrical generator, where that's where the units for capacitance come from. So more into the first capacitor, it was basically a glass jar containing conducting fluid, which von Kleist held with his hand and added a nail into the liquid, and then he found that the device could hold a charge after he electrified it. The Leyden jar, which Van Muskenbrock created, was said to be the first capacitor, which was going off of von Kleist's invention, of course. He made a glass jar wrapped inside and out with thin metal foil, and then Daniel Gralath came after the original Leyden jar and put it several jars in parallel to form a battery to increase the total possible stored, like energy stored. Benjamin Franklin is always that known person when we think about electricity from the kite. So I just wanted to explain that a little bit. So Franklin basically just wanted to show the electrical nature of lightning. So he gathered kite, hemp string, silk string, a house key, a Leyden jar, and sharp length of wire. He basically just tied everything together, and as the negative charges in the metal piece were attracted to the positive charges in his hand as he held the house key, he used the Leyden jar to collect the electrical fire. Very copiously was quoted, and he could collect the electrical charge of the storm, and collecting the electrical fire made it so that the electricity could be discharged at a different time. So basically the outcomes were it all started in the 6th century, or like 600 BC, and Thales of Miletus, his experience with amber rods were the first to be like kind of known in the production of electrical energy. And then the main reason for the use and initial invention of Leyden jars was to propose this idea of electricity. And the important figures that I have mentioned were the main figures in the timeline of first capacitors, and to use them for not only like batteries and stuff.